Thank you for having me, James. And it's great to be here with you all. So in terms of today, what I wanted to talk about was winning with influencers in a post-IDFA world. I think that this is really important because of what is going on in the mobile industry, or what has been going on over the past few months. And yeah, I'm going to address how to kind of win with influencers with the current scenario. So in terms of what I'll be covering today, it will be number one, talking about the effect of privacy. So like what is going on with privacy and with Apple and how it's actually affected influencer marketing or just mobile marketing in general. Then two is understanding the impact of creator campaigns. I think that this is really important because now, especially with the removal of fingerprint, or especially with what's going on in terms of limited data that we have, it's key to understand where you actually getting value as a mobile advertiser from your influencer campaigns. And finally, I'm going to touch on the importance of influencer content, which I think is crucial because there's a lot more of an emphasis on it now that is now that we can only really optimize, or there's a limit to the amount that we can optimize campaigns through content creators. So in terms of who I am, I've been on the stage here before, but for those who are meeting for the first time, my name is Jidé Maduako. I'm the CEO of Yoke Network, and we essentially love helping mobile apps to grow through influencers. And how we do it is that we built a creator network with over 2,000 creators and over 600 million total audience. So we've been going for over 3 years now. And the two key things that we really focus on currently are mobile influencer marketing and creator content. So this is exactly what we focus on. Sorry, I had to turn off my Slack. And in terms of what we focus on, I wanted to get on today with the effect of privacy. So in terms of the effect of privacy, I'd actually love to start off with actually Apple and what is going on, because for me personally, iOS 14.5 is only the beginning. And I wanted to play this kind of advert for you so you can kind of get an understanding of what is going on as well.
There you go.
Here's what you said last month. Let's sort out with the itching.
Can I have a taste of your ice cream? Can I lick the crumbs from your table? Can you hear the people behind me? Go, mind your own business. Why don't you mind your own business?
So Apple, a multi-trillion-dollar company, one of the largest companies in the world, has launched a massive war on privacy. And I really truly believe that it's only the beginning. Like, the big elephant in the room for influencer campaigns is that fingerprint tracking is no more, and campaigns can no longer be attributed as confidently as they once were. So MMPs are going to have limited tracking, and the data is pretty opaque from your creator campaigns. But also, as we've run hundreds of campaigns over the past 3 years, what we've actually seen is that there's been a huge decrease in the number of conversions or tracked installs that we're getting across our campaigns.
There you go.
So in terms of iOS 14 being the beginning, the reason why I say it's only the beginning is because iOS 15 is coming out, and Apple have actually released some new features for users. And as they start to roll out their marketing campaigns, as users start to get more educated, it's going to affect your campaigns just across the board in marketing. So they have new features such as privacy report, where users can opt out of tracking across all of the sites that they've been tracked across, so they can easily see where the data is being used. Users now can share random email addresses, so when they actually sign up to an app, they can put a random email address. So if you're trying to capture emails and retarget through email marketing, it's going to affect that as well. And then finally, as an actual app itself, users can now see like third-party domains that their data has been shared on. So as users continue to get educated, it is going to affect how you target them. And the final feature that we've seen is that users are now going to have more control in terms of their in-app purchases, and will be able to push for more refunds. So once you've actually converted users, now you're going to have an e-commerce problem where there are actually refunds that can be issued via Apple. So iOS 15 is going to get even more difficult for mobile advertisers. Obviously, it's beneficial for the users, but simply put, privacy is only going to increase and you need to adapt. So if you haven't started already, and if you haven't prepared yourself, you really do need to adapt. And from our perspective, influencer marketing is crucial because it allows you to show your values as an advertiser and as a mobile advertiser, and you're able to leverage engaged audiences. So it leads me into the first topic today in terms of understanding the impact of creator campaigns. And regarding this, what we want to do is we'll be covering what you should expect, because depending on the life cycle of yourself as an app, there are different expectations that you should be looking for from a creator campaign. Then two, we'll cover where to look for impact, because again, with more opaque data, where do you actually see the value in the budget or the advertising budget that you've invested on these creators? And finally, how do you measure your results? So we're gonna walk into the life cycle app, and in terms of what you should expect, because for me personally, working with apps across the board, we worked with massive companies such as Rovio down to brand new startups that are launching apps, and there should be different expectations for different levels. So the way that we categorize it at Yoke is that early stage is essentially a new app that's launching. Then majority of apps that we'd be working with will be in the scaling app phase, where they have a product market fit, and the focus is to drive new users and drive new active users and grow. And then finally, there's mature, which is established, large active user base. And these are usually much larger apps that are really focused on increasing the LTV of their users. So in terms of the expectation, number one, definitely if you're early stage app and you're just launching, what you should expect is having a large impact from your creator campaign in the app store. So this is usually seen as a huge jump in your ranking in terms of in the app store. Not always does it convert to actual installs, just because you need to understand the tone of voice, but the focus at this stage is that you need to learn about what the users are doing and what percentage they're likely to retain. Because at an early stage, from a creator campaign, getting in this data from influencers is very, very good, and it's an amazing channel to use, because you'll be able to understand quickly and efficiently from an organic standpoint, like kind of what works. Then moving on to scaling apps. Definitely when you're launching a creator campaign, you'll 100%, we see it across the majority of our campaigns, is that there's a huge organic impact in terms of on your daily organics. Obviously, it depends on the scale of the app, but definitely there's an organic impact from running a creator campaign. And then next, you should expect an increase in your DAU or MAU, so your daily active users and your monthly active users, as you have a product market fit. These apps, these creators that will be promoting your app, they will be able to drive a action through their audience, and the audience is most likely going to be sticky as well if you've sorted retention with your app or optimized the onboarding process. And then finally, it's finding new creative angles. I think that this is really important, because to have success with creators and to have success with influencer marketing, you need to really understand what works and what kind of converts in terms of the tone of voice. I'll speak a lot more about content and how to optimize content and what to look for further on in this deck. but definitely finding new creative angles and working with TikTok creators is phenomenal because they're able to interpret your app in different ways, create new angles and find new ways that you can convert the audience through those as creators or across your marketing campaigns just generally. And then finally, mature apps. This is something that I think a lot of mature apps will come and think that launching a creator campaign is automatically gonna drive new users, but a lot of the time it doesn't. Main reason being is because the apps such as Spotify or Angry Birds is saturated so many channels that running it through social media creators, majority of the audience may already have the app. So what I would say is that the focus for a mature app is more brand focused. So the whole idea is that you should be differentiating your product. It'll help the audience to understand and keep your app front of mind, and this will then help them to convert on other channels as well, or even to convert if you spend large enough or consistently with creators. So moving on to the next slide is tips. So definitely as an early stage app, I think what you do need to do is you need to understand the natural app conversion rates and the funnels that work, and using creators, they'll be able to do this and they'll be able to help you to do it with new creative angles and testing new creative angles. I think understanding the organic flow of your app and having a strong social strategy through influencers will allow you to be best in position to drive action and drive results, especially in a post-IDFA era. Next is for a scaling app, the aim should be to lead a category. I think especially with the organic boost that you get with creators on when you run a larger campaign or when you run creator campaigns, the aim is to lead the category because essentially you benefit from organic installs and even being first choice in the app store for the category. You need obviously a large spend to retain and maintain a high position. But what we've seen is that the 72-hour moving average or post creator activation will help you to maintain and boost your organics and lead a category. And additionally, another tip is that you should be optimizing on creatives to reduce creative fatigue. I think that with creators and their skill set and them understanding what really works for their audience will allow you to differentiate the same tone of voice and tap into their audience and create new different angles focused on different product features in your app. And finally, definitely if you're scaling app, you need to be spending consistently with creators because having ad hoc campaigns doesn't actually help in terms of the consistency, and a lot of creators will churn, a lot of influencers will then kind of see it a bit as a more unreliable advertiser. So for you to get that consistent organic drive and organic uplift, a consistent spend with influencers is important. And finally, for mature apps, is work with a wide variety of creators. To be honest, I'd recommend this across all of apps in terms of early stage and scaling because you always want to be testing. But I think for mature apps, you're then able to scale into new audiences and new categories of creators, and working with a wide variety of them will allow you to do that. And finally, obviously, as a mature app, I definitely think having influencer marketing in your marketing mix, especially in that post-IDFA era, is really, really important because you could tap into an organic and budding audience. So an important note, I do think that all advertisers should keep in mind is that the further you are on your app lifecycle, the greater you will need to invest to show an impact on your organics. And definitely this is important because for you to kind of see that organic uplift, you'd need to have enough views or work with enough creators that are gonna drive that impact. So if your organics are in the hundreds a day, then you don't need to spend as much or you don't need to invest as much to see that impact. But if you're getting hundreds of thousands of installs a day, then definitely you're gonna have to spend tens of thousands to move the needle. So in terms of where to look for impact, what I want to do is go into the data side of it, and definitely is in-app revenue. Key in-app features are daily organics and app store ranking. So I'll touch on in-app revenue, because what we've seen with some of our campaigns is that when you've launched a creator campaign, it may not have converted in terms of direct installs through a single creator, but across the campaign, because of the organic impact, there is an increase in in-app spending. So I definitely think that you should be tracking the amount of spend in-app or the effect post your app, post launching the campaign, and compare it to before the campaign, so that you can kind of get a clear understanding of how it's actually impacted revenue. Because some clients may have or some advertisers may think that, okay, it hasn't had an effect just because I haven't boosted in my in-app rank in the app store, or I haven't seen a lot of installs. But organically and in the app, there could be an increase in spending across the board. Another way that you can track this is by, especially because you don't have direct tracking with the MMPs now, is by having focusing on a key in-app feature. So it may be live streaming, for example, or it may be if a certain filter on a photo editing app, and just hyper focusing your creator campaign on a certain in-app feature. And this will allow you to then say, okay, well, we've seen an increase in this because all the creators, we've seen an increase in usage of this feature over this period of time, because the creators that we use in our influencer campaign were all talking about it. So that's another way that you can kind of measure the impact and see how it's the influencer campaign has kind of affected that. So in terms of what I wanted to show you was the organic impact. So here's a case study from one of our actual campaigns. And we consistently across the board, we see that TikTok campaigns, especially not Instagram, not Snapchat, but TikTok campaigns have a direct impact on organic installs, especially high scaling campaigns that we run. So for one of our clients, we saw that prior to the launch of the campaign, they had an average number of downloads per day of 2,705. But then after we launched with our client on the 4th, we actually saw that the average installs per day jumped, and there was a 72% increase post-launch. So the installs have increased from 2.7K a day to 4.6 after our marketing campaign. And this is the type of graph that I'd say you should measure. And in terms of trying to see where the noise is, I definitely think if you're an advertiser and you're running campaigns on Facebook, you're running campaigns on Snapchat, or you're running campaigns on other channels, definitely, because you can still have a higher level of transparency tracking those campaigns, what you should do is understand the organic impact from those campaigns before you launch the creator campaign. Because when you do your analysis on the organic impact from the creators, you can then say, well, I already know that Facebook campaigns have a 20% effect on my organics. So then maybe you would minus 20% of the overall creator campaign and say that, all right, well, I can attribute 80% of the organic uplift to this creator campaign. So you definitely, as an advertiser, need to understand what type of effect your other channels are having before you launch your creator campaign. And then in terms of the organic impact, it's also looking at the percentage of increase on compared to your baseline. So definitely running a creator campaign will allow you to kind of see that, and you should already be tracking at least a 30-day average on your organics. Compare that to maybe a 72-hour period when you do go active with a TikTok creator campaign, and then measure the organic impact from there. So in terms of App Store ranking, what it kind of does, here's like a real life example of what we've seen. So this is data from our dashboard when we've gone live with a creator campaign. And by the way, the examples are from 3 different apps and 3 different activations. So what we actually saw was that in terms of tracked installs, we had tracked installs through MMP. We had a 1,300 from one of our creator activations, and we actually saw that there was an increase in the App Store where the advertisers jumped huge places in correlation. So this is another thing that you should be looking at. I know that for advertisers, the real focus is, what is my CPI? How many installs did I get? But having that jump in the App Store, you can actually, we've seen it for some of our scaling campaigns. They're trying to show investors that they're at a certain spot in the App Store, or that they're a certain spot in the category. Working with creators can help them to maintain a certain organic, maintain a certain number of organics or certain place in the App Store, which they can then tell that story to investors. So it does work across the board, and there's different cases and scenarios that it's applicable for. But you definitely do see an increase in App Store ranking, and it could be that you just want to maintain. You're in a very competitive category, such as video editing or video apps, and you want to maintain a place in the App Store above rivals or similar competitors. Working with creators is a very good way to maintain a higher App Store ranking as well. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was, and it's a really important note for advertisers, is because with the limited tracking for installs and the opacity that we're seeing with IDFA, definitely when you're calculating your CPI, you should definitely look at your overall ad spend and look at it as a blended spend. So that's tracked installs plus organic uplift will then equal your eCPI for the activation. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, you definitely need to make sure that you understand the base measure of the impact from your other marketing channels. Then you can deduct this from your influencer campaign. And then you can actually attribute and say, well, although I spent 10,000, 20,000 on this campaign, the eCPI that I've got on plus the organics is coming back at less than $1 per install. And you're not just basing a campaign based on the tracked installs, because obviously you can't track everything right now. And as we move forward in the future, it's going to be really important, because as users they're being forced to opt in, they need to opt into ads, they need to opt into giving their data. You need to make sure that working with creators is very, very helps them to understand the core values for your app, the core features, and makes your app actually be attractive. So brand in mobile marketing is now more important than ever, just because users have more choice. Users have more choice on the amount of data that they have, and it's a very competitive environment now. So just to summarize this section, what I wanted to share is that understanding the impact of creator campaigns, definitely with limited advertiser tracking, you need to look beyond the install. And for all of your creator campaigns, you need to look beyond the install. That's number 1 is with organic uplift. Number 2 is App Store ranking. Number 3 is track features in the app. So this is more focused on the creative side, but definitely you could hyper target a feature in your app with creators, explaining it through TikTok, through very creative content, and then see the impact for that feature within the app, and then generate overall in-app revenue. I think you might see a spike in in-app purchases for a specific feature, or the audience actually might figure out that there's a part of the app that they like, or for example, a photo editing app, they may see a specific filter, and that specific filter that organically through your creator campaign gets used, you could then reuse that for other future campaigns. Then definitely the different expectations for your app life cycle. So depending on your early stage, scaling and mature apps, you definitely need to have different expectations, because obviously every app is different. And then finally, I think you need to invest in correlation to your organics. So that's simply put, the larger your organics, the more that you're going to have to invest to have an impact on your organics. So then I'm going to be moving on to the importance of influencer content. I think that this is very, very important right now, because you can optimize content a lot easier now, because there's so much short form video content. There's so many creators out there that want to work with mobile apps, and TikTok is a phenomenal channel for apps, but also because there's limited data. So creator content is more important now than ever, because you need to really truly understand what makes the audience tick. So what I wanted to talk about today was just general briefing and like a strategy around that, and then understanding your category content matrix. So in terms of general briefing, as an app, I think we've gone from days where it's like display ads and working on Facebook, working on Instagram, where it's just photos and you just really hyper controlled in terms of how you would get the influencers to take a picture or post or show your app. But now it's really important, because TikTok allows all the audience to have a lot of creative freedom. There's trends that are changing all the time. And definitely what I would say is that initially you should test and launch with a wide variety of creators. So keep it very broad, because creators understand their audience best, and they are then able to perform better. I'd say moving on from that, give the creators creative freedom. But I know that in terms of some creators, they don't actually know how to make ad content. But what I would say is that within reason, give creators the key features that they should be highlighting, give creators the key parts of the app that they want to highlight, and the timing, when to post. But you really do need to make sure that the creators can interpret the app in a way that will let them to engage with their audience in a way that's very natural. Then that leads me to the next point, is that keep it organic, because if the ad does not appear native to the audience, it's not going to convert. The creators, they built up their audience, some over months, some over a year or so, and some overnight. But either way, they're creating content that they get their audience to come back to them, so that they watch them every day, and they understand their audience a lot more than you would. So as an advertiser, you definitely need to keep it broad, give the creators creative freedom so that they can engage with their audience properly and engage with your app, and actually find like new features that they think their audience would like, and make sure that it's native and organic. And what I would end with in terms of on this slide is that we've actually found some of the best performing content when we've given creators just the app features to highlight, and then they found a use case or they found it useful. So amazing example of this is this piece of content that I'm going to share with you. Sorry, the deck is what's it about? Perfect.
Want to impress your friends with cool photos like this? Take any object you want to some string, hang it above you, and now take a photo using the self-timer, acting as if you're making the object float. Time for the fun part, which is making the string disappear. This is the simplest way to remove anything from your pictures. Yes, anything, objects, people, even acne, which often comes in handy for me. If you want to easily download this app for free, just quickly tap this button on my profile, and trust me, you'll thank me that you did. You do not want to miss out on this. Just don't take it too far.
So just an example in terms of why this was successful is because we kept it broad. So a lot of mobile advertisers will look to work with like lifestyle creators, comedy creators, and a whole host of different type of mainstream creators. But we've let a magician create content about a photo editing app. We gave them the creative freedom. So they talked about the crop feature. We just advised the creator to talk about a specific feature in the app, but it was very native and very organic to their usual content, and it allowed it to convert really, really well. And as you can see, that this type of ad it has highlighted the benefits for the audience and allowed the audience to then say, okay, yeah, I'm going to go and download this app. So it's very important. And this is an amazing example of a very broad category, giving the creator freedom and keeping the content organic. So moving on to understanding the category content matrix. Definitely, here are some of the key insights that you should be tracking with your creator campaigns. And it's organic reach. So on the data side, you should be looking at like, what is the organic reach of the content? Then looking at the click-through rate as well, because it's important to see how the audience engages with the content. Another kind of influencer secret and tip to look for, especially with like the lack of post-install data that we're getting, we can see from the outset by looking at the content comments, like just some of the ways that the audience comment about the ad or comment about the app. You can find a host of useful information that you can use to optimize and use in different creator campaigns. And finally, post-install conversions, they are limited, but depending on the way that you structure the campaign, you can actually still have a key insight in terms of highlighting a feature and then looking at the conversions post-install with that, or just general, looking at it broadly over in-app revenue. So in terms of organic reach, organic reach simply proves that people are truly engaged with the content, and it can scale for free / to a low cost. So if you get a creator to create content, then the more organics that they get, then it can essentially highlight that the audience kind of engages with the app and that they're seeing a lot of value or utility with that content or in the app. So I've known cases of advertisers saying that their organics have just jumped overnight, and it's because there's one TikTok post that has gone viral, and that's why they want to invest more in the TikTok channel, because they know that it has a huge effect. So organic reach for the actual influencer content is one measure. Then definitely click-through rate. So this shows you the conversion of your ad, and a good question to ask is like, if the click-through rate is high, that means that the audience understands the message, or the creator made the content so it was really clear and the audience wanted to engage with it. So that's something that you can use to like understand the category content matrix. And then finally, the content comments. Like, you'll actually be able to get actionable insights from the audience on positive and negative comments, but it can definitely help to optimize like the creator content in the future for your campaign. Sorry, that's my alarm. So what I mean by this is like, here's some examples. I use Alarmy way before it is annoying, but that's what makes it good. And this is actually smart. I'm downloading, and I've downloaded and it worked. So especially I think for early stage apps and scaling apps as well, this is very crucial because you can see the audience sentiment. You can see if they've seen a lot of utility of your app, and it's an easy way to essentially get customer information or marketing information about how people are engaging with your product. So a very useful way or example of how you can kind of structure your analysis is like different creator categories. So this may be life hacks, it may be lifestyle creators, and maybe comedic creators, looking at the organic reach in each category, looking at the click-through rate in each category, and looking at how their audiences are engaging with your app when you run your influencer campaign. It can help you to optimize it from a creative level, and it can help you to understand even what you need to be doing across all of your marketing channels to have success. So one important note that I wanted to just say is that generally working with creators is very, very time consuming at scale, and you need a detailed level of understanding to be successful, because there are a lot of creator campaigns that go horribly wrong, and the key thing is just because the advertiser doesn't understand where the value is. So you need to be looking in the right places, and having this deck and this presentation hopefully can help you to look in the right places, especially with limited data now, as to where you are getting value. And the factors advertisers need to forget about is creator audience understanding. The factors that advertisers need to actually factor in is creator audience understanding, turnaround time, data optimization, and general negotiation. The reason why we work completely different from other agencies is because we built a network of creators, so it allows us to get access to a lot of more insights, a lot more scale of campaigns, and it allows us to kind of cut down a lot of this stuff in terms of the audience understanding, the turnaround time, and we got over 3 years experience. So to finalize my presentation today, I'd say if you would like to launch a campaign with our network, definitely be in contact. My email is here. And I've also left you a little present. It's a TikTok influencer marketing guide. So I'll put this link in the chat and it will allow you to just click it and have a short guide on what to look out for to have a successful campaign. So thank you for everything today, guys. Hello.
There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Thanks, Jidé. That was great. Very interesting as always, seeing how your thinking's evolving in this new world. I'd like to ask you quite a lot of questions, but we're quite tight on time. So one question I had was, with the in-app feature tracking, are you targeting that to new users and then using the feature as just a way of like working out what's happening or getting people to go deep in, or are you targeting more at existing users and it's a kind of re-engagement type of thing?
So what it would be for new users, and it'll be pretty simple. Like an example, maybe you built a new product feature in your app, or you've got filters for a photo editing app. All you'd simply do is have the creators or the influencers in the campaign talk about this feature in natural, engaging ways. Launch the campaign, and for the duration of the campaign, you can obviously track through like amplitude or on your and you can kind of track like how, if there's been an increase in usage for that feature and the type of engagement, and that's a way to kind of see the success or attribute like the success of a creator campaign.
Got it. And what you described, quite familiar with from people in the past doing TV ads for apps and stuff, and it's find a baseline and then see when you've done the ad and then work out, okay, here's the delta, here's what's going on. And that makes sense for influencer, but what if you're running a load of other campaigns alongside? You can kind of work out your baseline. I don't know, Facebook or
This is something that I touched on in the presentation. You should definitely, before you even run an influencer campaign, if you're running other channels, you should already measure and track and understand like the organic effect of those channels. So then you can kind of remove it from or strip it from your creator campaign when you're doing the post analysis. You can say, well, I can attribute this percentage to these channels, but the rest of it is from our influencer campaign.
Got it. And what do you think is iOS 14 going to be good for influencer marketing? Okay, yeah, you've like you say, you've got different ways to track actually what's going on. You can see comments, that kind of thing, and it's amazing actually seeing all the creativity and some of the creatives now, which are obviously going to help a lot more when you can't do such good targeting. The importance of creative. Or obviously it seems like it's a lot more work for you to show your clients, look, this is what's happening. What's your kind of take on it, or is it kind of neutral?
Yeah, I definitely think that iOS 14 is difficult for the whole industry generally. For influencer marketing, it's actually really good because it allows advertisers to kind of focus on driving organics, focus on differentiating their apps. And obviously it's harder with like targeting, but definitely because you can like have really organic and creative content made by influencers, especially that drive a lot of organics, then it will allow you to differentiate your product more, and ultimately across all of your marketing channels that can help, because we're moving to a short form video world. Like we have TikTok that is the fastest growing social app in the world and has been like the #1 downloaded app in the App Store for like the past 12 plus months. We have YouTube Shorts. We're going to see ad content there soon. We've got Instagram Reels. Obviously, again, as another new channel for advertisers sooner rather than later. And even with Snapchat Spotlight. So there's a lot more new ways of the audience engaging with content, and working with influencers across these channels is the future. So it's good for advertisers to understand how to get success now, and then as these new ad channels roll out, you can easily have success by creating native and organic content.
Great. I think someone was asking it probably in the other window about link. Maybe Jidé, if you can go back in and paste the link to your deck, maybe after this, the ebook, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, really appreciate taking part today, Jidé, and hope to see you in person soon, either in NYC or maybe in California or Berlin or London. And yeah, really exciting to hear how you're dealing with this change in the market, and always been one of the pioneers. And yeah, really appreciate taking part today.
Thank you so much for your time. Speak to you later and see you in person soon.